So for this, you use a standard portals, the posterior, anterior, anterolateral, and lateral portals, as you can kind of see marked here. I do like lidocaine with epinephrine, because I think this is a very effective way to help with both surgery. So after establishing your standard posterior portal, you then will perform just a standard diagnostic arthroscopy, looking at the cartilage, the rotator cuff, the labrum, anything that might be a pain generator. And then you'll move your attention to the subscapularis naturally, that rotator interval, establishing the anterior portal, and then ultimately clearing out the rotator interval, making sure you can see the rolled edge of the subscapularis, and ultimately assessing the biceps. You can see looking for a superior labral tear, assessing the stability of the superior labrum, and then ultimately assessing the overall biceps itself. Once you make the decision to do the biceps tenodesis, I like to tag it just around the edge of where it's entering the groove, so I have an idea when I go and do my tenodesis what exact measurement that is and where I should actually do my tenodesis. And then we use the suture to kind of pull on it and then cut it to make it relatively easy with an arthroscopic scissors to detach it from the superior labrum, as you can kind of see here. So moving subacromially, I start with a lateral portal. This is nice to perform a subacromial decompression, open up the space above the rotator cuff, and then most importantly go into the gutters and kind of open up the gutters. You can see with the lidocaine with epi, we were able to control the bleeding pretty effectively. You can use a shaver, protecting the deltoid fascia, and then ultimately moving my way to the anterior aspect, right over where the bottom part of the bicipital groove is. I like to then switch my viewing portal once I've opened up the gutters to the lateral viewing and then make an anterior lateral just directly over the top of where the biceps would be. Once again, I'm not actually opening up the groove. I'm actually going below the bicipital groove itself and kind of clearing out some of the overlying fascia, some of the overlying subacromial bursa. I then am exposing the lateral aspect of the humerus and the greater tuberosity, and then I'm working my way over towards the bicipital groove. I then am going to go, as you can kind of see here, I'm on the edge of the bicipital groove, and I'm kind of gradually working my way over to where the biceps is actually running. You can even start to feel it, as you can kind of see here. I then bring the arm up into forward flexion, and external rotation brings the biceps in view really easily, as you can see here. I'm just gradually cleaning out just below the bicipital groove, some of the adhesions over the top of the biceps, and then ultimately bringing the biceps out. So this is an infra groove, but it's suprapec, or just where the pec is actually being inserted. I then will retrieve the biceps out, and as you can kind of see here, I'm bringing the biceps out of that interlateral portal. This allows me to sort of prepare it and crack out. I have that other stitch that I placed previously, so I get an idea of where I want to end this crack out stitch, or this locking stitch. I usually end it at least 2 centimeters from where I tagged it. That tells me the appropriate tension is that's approximately, the length of the groove is approximately 2 to 3 centimeters. So then I'm going to place 3 of these stitches. As you can see, I'm ending about 2 centimeters proximal to where I tagged it, and then where I tagged it is sort of at the entrance of the groove. So this should give me basically the perfect tension. I then ultimately am going to place, I like to do an onlay fixation, as you can see here. So I do an onlay approach. I load the anchor, and then I place the anchor, and this is once again below the actual bicipital groove itself. But this is a suprapec approach. So it's sort of like the best of both worlds, at least in my mind. You don't have the groove pain, but you do have an all arthroscopic and avoid the incision in the armpit. So you can see here I'm doing an onlay approach. I'm placing an onlay anchor, and this allows me to avoid potentially that sharp effect of some of the inlay approaches. And then ultimately I will cut the biceps, as you can see here. So this is the ultimate tension. You can see the onlay biceps on the infra groove. But arthroscopically, you can see how it's really well secured with a perfect tension. There's your rotator cuff to give you some sense of where the actual position of the groove is compared to, or where the tenodesis occurs compared to where the actual rotator cuff is.